From the Opubco Studios in Oklahoma City, you're watching The Press Row. I'm Jenny Carlson here with Barry Trammell. Time for 5 and 5, 5 topics, about a minute each. Let's get right to it, Barry. Let's start with Bill Belichick. Who doesn't love Bill Belichick? But do you love the fire or loathe the sportsmanship or lack thereof? Because it looks like with Bill Belichick, you're going to get both.
Yeah, well, I actually, I loathe the sportsmanship. I think Bill Belichick's a wonderful coach. He's done a phenomenal job, built a great empire at New England. But you don't have to be a jerk to win big. I mean, a lot of people have proven that. You know, Bill Belichick talking to John Harbaugh before the game said, let's just forego the handshake. No matter what happens, let's not shake hands. John Harbaugh, being sort of a sensible guy, said, you know what, we ought to shake hands. So after the game, they shake hands. Bill Belichick won't do the CBS interview after the game. There's a way to do things right, and I tell you, we ask a lot of our athletes in terms of way to conduct themselves, win or lose, on the field. You know, control your emotions. Don't blow a gasket. We should demand the same from our coaches. Bill Belichick is wrong on this regard.
I think we should demand more from our coaches, frankly. I think, they should be setting the tone, and in this way, Bill Belichick really missed the mark. If I was Steve Tasker, I would have tackled him. I mean, Steve Tasker's one of the great all-time special teams players. Why not just grab him and take him down if he says no? I mean, to me, that was just totally uncalled for. Some of the stuff that Bill Belichick is able to, quote-unquote, get away with, he needs to be called out on. And I think talking about this, even though it has been several days since it happened, there's no room for that kind of sportsmanship. You've got to appreciate what he does in terms of winning and what they've built in New England, no doubt about it. But come on, it's a football game. If you need some perspective, go walk around a hospital, go walk around a cancer ward, and then see if you need to do your interviews and shake your hands. I think you'll start doing it, Mr. Belichick. All right, speaking of Mr. and Mrs.'s, how about Mrs. Welker? Wes Welker's wife takes to Twitter and says some not so nice things about Mr. Ray Lewis. Sour grapes, or does she have a point, Barry?
Well, the answer is both. It is sour grapes, and it's a great lesson. Don't get on Facebook. Don't get on Twitter. Don't fire off emails when you're all emotional and upset after a game, after a confrontation, after whatever. Because listen, when it goes out there, it's out there. So be careful. But she does have a point. The canonization of Ray Lewis is very interesting. Has he turned his life around? Probably, I guess. Most people think he has. But let's not forget that, 14 years ago, somebody died, and Ray Lewis had a part in that to some degree, did not exactly cooperate with the authorities. Has he rebuilt his life? Maybe. But, Mrs. Welker does have a point. Just don't go making it after the Ravens have knocked out your husband's team.
Yeah, I think she does have a point, and I think it has been a little bit over the top the way this whole Ray Lewis thing has happened. He announces he's retiring before the playoffs, comes back after injury, and now every game is a celebration of Ray Lewis. I mean, he's a fantastic player. There's no doubt about it at his age to have been in the league as long as he's been in the league and still making plays, still making a difference. But let's not take it so far that we, like you say, canonize the guy. I mean, he's a fantastic player, but as we are oftentimes reminded by our next topic, foreshadow that, we don't know these athletes. We don't know everything about them, so we have to be careful with how we lift them up and how we treat them. And, I think Ray Lewis is a great example of that.
Manti Te'o, Lance Armstrong, forget them. I want to see a sit-down interview with Ray Lewis. Tell me what happened in Atlanta.
Fantastic question. And you bring up Manti Te'o. Here's a question on him. We talked about him last week, but have you come to any more conclusions? Liar or victim? What is he here, Barry?
Well, it looks like he's both. I guess I could answer both on every question today. He is a liar. He admitted he lied. He admitted that he embellished on a variety of points. I mean, and it's not just after he found out. Back in October, in early October, when the story of his girlfriend became a national sensation, he sort of gave clues about how they met. Through a cousin and at a Stanford game, all kinds of silly things. The truth is, you didn't meet her at all. But he's also a victim. He's a simpleton. He fell for some sort of internet scam. It happens to not the best of us, but some of us. Anybody with a clue doesn't fall victim to that stuff. But no, he's both, and he's embarrassed. It's not a national outrage. It's not a scandal. It's not Lance Armstrong-esque, but it is sort of a cautionary tale Don't do your business on the internet, whether you're buying a vacuum cleaner or finding a girlfriend.
At this point, I think Manti Te'o falls more in the victim realm. I think he's more victim than liar, but clearly he embellished. And when we talked about this last week, I said that he was culpable, and I still think that he is, because he did embellish the story. He did create more to the story than there was, and so you have to blame him at least a little bit, because when you talk to, and when people talk to the guy, he's making up details about meeting this girl, which obviously doesn't set off any alarms about the fact that she might not exist. So there is some part of him that lied, but I think as this story has been uncovered more and more, it sounds like he's more victim than liar. And you're right, I think simpleton's a great way to put it, that really got him in trouble. All right, Barry, our fun question of the week. Hey, would you block a Mascot shot? And I forgot to ring the bell, so we'll use that right now.
It's an excellent question, and I have to say this. Depends on which mascot.
Uh-oh.
If
have Mascot hate.
Well, I got some I'm not all that crazy about. But in reference to Russell Westbrook, goaltending the Mascot shot in Denver, Russell, what are you doing? This was a tight game. This wasn't the schoolyard. This wasn't the YMCA. You're trying to beat the Nuggets in a game that went overtime. Quit screwing around. Quit trying to be some sort of sideshow. I didn't understand the mentality. If it's 106-72, 4 minutes left in the game and everybody's bored, go out there and shoot half-court shots with the Mascot. Nobody cares. But down the stretch of a close game, don't be the show during timeouts.
No doubt about it. Yeah, that was so bizarre. And would I block a Mascot shot? Listen, if I could jump that high, I would.
You're going to need a bigger box than the one you're standing on.
I would block a Mascot shot in a heartbeat if I could. But let me tell you, there's no hops for me, so I'm not going to do it. But yeah, Russell's antics, somebody said, why did anybody stop him? At what meeting, at what point does somebody say to their star point guard, hey, by the way, you probably shouldn't go out and block a Mascot's half-court shot coming out of a timeout?
It's not in the manual. Don't block the Mascot shot, and don't get your girlfriends off the internet. Some things are just common sense.
All right, lastly, Barry, let's go to the gridiron for a quick question. Hey, what about this? The recruiting home stretch, we're coming down to the end of recruiting season. Is it more important for OU or OSU?
Well, I think any question about recruiting is one for us and for fans and media, 100% public relations. Has nothing to do with reality. So the answer is it's more important for OU, because right now the Sooners seem to be suffering from the public relations hits, primarily with the way they ended the season, with the Cotton Bowl loss, the loss of some players to the pros, the Tony Jefferson scandal that broke, those kinds of things. It's one hit after another for the Sooners. I think OU could use some good news down the stretch just to put everybody in a good frame of mind. Is it any more important for OU to get good players down the stretch than OSU? No. Do we have any clue how good these players are? No. But from a PR standpoint, the Sooners could use some good news.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think there are some areas where Oklahoma could also use some good players for the future. As we found out, if you look at recruiting classes, you're not going to have many impact players next year. Rare is the guy who signs in February and plays in September. So remember that. But I do think if you look at what Oklahoma State has done sort of in the last couple weeks, they got some more running back recruits, which I think is good news for them as they found themselves suddenly depleted at that area. But Oklahoma's definitely got some needs to fill. Are they going to be able to fill them in the short term? I don't know, but you at least have to build up some depth. And right now, especially on the defensive side of the ball, they've got some areas where they need some help. So I think closing is going to be really important for the Sooners. Hey, be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.